I never imagined my own family would doubt me during the worst time of my life. Losing a baby is devastating enough, feeling your world crumble beneath you, the grief pressing down like a weight you can't escape. But the real agony didn't come from the loss itself. It came from the way people, the people I trusted, treated me as if my pain wasn't real. Kevin and I had been married for 3 years, and I thought we had a solid foundation. We'd been through our share of challenges, but nothing prepared us for this. When I found out I was pregnant, I was over the moon. Kevin was too. We picked names, bought baby clothes, painted the nursery in soft pastel colors. We were excited, we were ready. But at 11 weeks it all came crashing down. One moment, I was staring at the ultrasound, hearing the heartbeat. The next moment, there was no heartbeat. I was told the baby was gone. I couldn't believe it. I'd been carrying this tiny life inside me and now, nothing. The loss was crushing, and I could feel it in every fiber of my being. Kevin was devastated too, but in a way we were in it together. At least, that's what I thought. I cried for days. I shut myself off from the world. But Rachel, Kevin's sister, was different. Rachel had always been cold to me, from the beginning. She'd made it clear she didn't think I was good enough for her brother. I never understood why, but I learned quickly that it didn't matter. She didn't approve of me, and nothing would ever change that. I'd learned to live with her subtle digs and icy smiles. But this felt different. She showed up at the hospital with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, patting me on the back and offering empty words of comfort. "Everything happens for a reason," she'd said, like that would somehow make it easier. But the moment we were alone, she changed. "At least now you know you can get pregnant," she told me, as if this was some consolation. "Maybe your body knew something was wrong with it." I froze. My throat tightened. I wanted to scream at her, to tell her how hurtful her words were, but instead, I just nodded. The shock was overwhelming. She patted my shoulder like I'd just received a comforting hug, then walked away like she hadn't just shredded my heart all over again. I couldn't bring myself to confront her. Kevin was too busy with the logistics of the situation. He was devastated, but he wasn't noticing the way his sister's words cut through me. It didn't stop there. Every family event after that felt like a battlefield. Rachel's comments were subtle at first, little jabs she threw my way when Kevin wasn't around. Her words cut deeper with each passing day. At a family barbecue, barely 2 weeks after the miscarriage, she leaned in close to me while Kevin was talking to his dad. "Maybe your body knew something was wrong with it," she said again, with a smirk. I stared at her, feeling like the world had just tilted beneath my feet. I couldn't respond. I was in too much shock to say anything, but inside, it was all I could do to stop from crying. She walked away, and I was left standing there, wondering if I was really going crazy. Had she really just said that? I tried to push it aside. I tried to tell myself she was just being cruel. But as the weeks wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that Rachel was enjoying this. That maybe for her, this wasn't just about me. Maybe it was about something else, something deeper. She had always resented that Kevin had chosen me, someone so different from their family. She never said it outright, but the way she looked at me, the way she spoke to me, made it clear. She didn't think I belonged here. But when Kevin was around, Rachel could turn on the charm, pretending to care, pretending to be supportive. She'd hug me and tell me everything would be okay. But I knew it was all just a show. The moment Kevin wasn't around, she let her true feelings show. I knew it wasn't just me. It wasn't just the way she treated me. Rachel had always been this way, cold, distant, judgmental. But it wasn't until I miscarried that I realized how far she was willing to go to tear me down. It all came to a head at her birthday dinner. Kevin excused himself to go to the bathroom, and that was when Rachel did it again. "My friend had 3 miscarriages before a healthy baby," she said, as if I needed to hear that. "But she was younger than you. You're 32, right?" Clocks ticking loud. I tried to hold it together. I tried to stay composed, but it was like she had no empathy. It wasn't just her words, it was the way she said them, the deliberate cruelty in her tone. My heart raced. My body felt numb. Kevin returned just in time for Rachel to switch gears and talk about her job. She pretended like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just stabbed me in the gut again. I excused myself and went to the bathroom. I had to get away. I couldn't stand to be in the same room with her anymore. It was in that bathroom that I realized I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't pretend everything was okay. I couldn't let her keep making me feel like this. But when I returned to the table, Rachel had already moved on. The mask was back on, the supportive sister who had nothing but sweet words and fake concern. Kevin didn't see it. Kevin didn't understand. He thought I was hormonal, paranoid. He couldn't see what I saw. He couldn't see how Rachel was torturing me, how every word she said chipped away at my already broken heart. I was alone in this, and it hurt. It hurt more than the miscarriage. It hurt more than the grief I was still carrying. The betrayal I felt in that moment, the complete lack of support from the one person I thought would stand by me, Kevin, was unbearable. That night, I cried myself to sleep, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. It didn't take long for the cracks in our marriage to start showing. Kevin, who had always been my rock, was now drifting away from me, unaware of how deeply Rachel's words had cut. He saw me as someone who was just grieving, someone who needed a little time to get over it, as he put it. He didn't see the way Rachel's cruelty was changing me, how it was slowly breaking me down, piece by piece. I tried to be strong. I tried to tell myself that Rachel's remarks didn't matter, that I shouldn't let her get under my skin. But every time I saw her, every time she made one of her pointed comments, I felt like my self-worth was being chipped away. I had lost so much already. Why did I have to lose the respect of the people who should have supported me most? Kevin thought I was just being hormonal, overly sensitive. He would say things like, "Rachel's just trying to help, you know how she is. She doesn't mean it the way you're taking it." But I knew better. Rachel was never just trying to help. She had always been cold to me, but now it felt personal. I couldn't understand why she hated me so much. Was it because I married Kevin? Was it because I was so different from their family? From the moment I met her, she made it clear she didn't think I belonged. But I didn't expect it to go this far. I never imagined she would take my grief and twist it into something so cruel. It started with small comments about my body, my inability to carry a child. At first, they felt like often remarks. But the more she said them, the more I realized they weren't accidental. She was targeting me. The jokes, the casual cruelty, were deliberate. She was trying to make me feel small. A family barbecue was the first time I felt the full weight of it. Rachel was grilling with Kevin's dad, talking about everything and nothing, her voice cutting through the hum of the conversation. I was standing off to the side, feeling the familiar lump in my throat that came whenever I saw her. "At least now you know you can get pregnant," she said to me, her tone almost too sweet. "Maybe your body knew something was wrong with it." I froze, my heart slamming in my chest. Did she really just say that? I couldn't respond. The words stuck in my throat, too heavy to push out. Rachel smiled, like she had just delivered some comforting wisdom, and walked away like nothing happened. But I felt my world tilt, my stomach nodding. It was too much. Kevin didn't see it. He never did. He was busy with his dad, talking shop, not noticing how Rachel's words had shattered me all over again. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, trying to steady my breathing. But it wasn't just the words that hurt. It was the fact that Kevin didn't seem to care. He didn't see what was happening right in front of him. He didn't see how much Rachel was pushing me away, how much she was pushing me down. When I returned to the party, Rachel was already back to her usual cheerful self, talking to Kevin's dad like she hadn't just broken me with her words. Kevin was smiling, laughing, completely unaware of the storm Rachel had just set off inside me. I wanted to tell him, to scream at him to see what was happening, but I couldn't. It felt like no one would believe me anyway. Rachel had such a hold on him, she always had. The next few days were a blur. I was distant, too wrapped up in my thoughts to focus on anything else. Kevin noticed, of course. He asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine, that I just needed some time to myself. He believed me. I wanted him to understand. But I couldn't find the words to explain how much Rachel's cruelty had hurt me, how much her casual dismissals had chipped away at my soul. At Rachel's birthday dinner a few days later, the tension in the air was palpable. I felt the weight of the last few weeks pressing down on me. Rachel was sitting across from me, her smile as tight as ever. I couldn't help but watch her. I could feel her eyes on me. Like she was waiting for me to react. Like she was daring me to say something. I wanted to. I wanted to tell her exactly what I thought of her. I wanted to tell her how much I hated the way she made me feel. How much I hated that she thought she could tear me down and get away with it. But Kevin was there, and I didn't want to make a scene. So, I kept my mouth shut. But it wasn't easy. Every word she said, every comment she made, felt like a knife in my chest. Kevin excused himself to go to the bathroom. Rachel seized the opportunity. "My friend had 3 miscarriages before a healthy baby," she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "But she was younger than you. You're 32, right?" Clock's ticking loud. The words hit me like a slap in the face. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, the blood rushing to my head. I wanted to stand up, to shout at her, to tell her she was cruel and heartless. But instead, I just sat there, frozen. When Kevin came back, Rachel switched gears, immediately talking about her job, as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't just poked at the wound she had carefully opened. I felt sick. And it wasn't just because of Rachel, it was because Kevin didn't see it. He didn't understand how much it hurt, how much Rachel's words were eating me alive. He didn't understand because he didn't want to. He didn't want to see his sister for what she really was. When I finally did confront him, when I finally told him how much Rachel's words had hurt, he shrugged it off. "She's just trying to help," he said. "She doesn't mean it the way you're taking it." It felt like a slap in the face. How could he not see it? How could he not see the malice behind her words? That was the moment I realized that I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I couldn't keep pretending Rachel's cruelty didn't affect me. And I couldn't keep pretending that Kevin was on my side. I was alone in this, and I was going to have to figure out how to survive it. I tried to tell myself I was overreacting. Rachel was just being her usual self, right? The cruel, passive-aggressive older sister, who always seemed to have something to say about everything. Maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe I was just too sensitive. But deep down, I knew something had changed. It wasn't just Rachel's usual digs anymore. This felt like something darker, something more intentional. It had been a few weeks since that birthday dinner, and I still couldn't shake the feeling that Rachel was actively trying to make me feel small. Every time she spoke, every time she made another one of her jokes, I felt like I was drowning in her contempt. Kevin still didn't see it. He couldn't. How could he? He'd always been blind to Rachel's cruelty. Maybe it was because he was her brother, maybe because he didn't want to see his sister for what she truly was. But I knew exactly what Rachel was doing. The next time we saw her was at a family gathering, just a few days before Thanksgiving. Kevin and I had just gotten home from a check-up with my doctor, and I was feeling vulnerable. The weight of everything, the miscarriage, the grief, the isolation, felt heavier on my shoulders that day. But I tried to push it aside, telling myself that I could get through this. It wasn't going to be easy, but I was stronger than this, or so I thought. I walked into the house, my stomach a little tighter than usual, but I tried to smile when I saw everyone. Kevin's dad was grilling outside. Rachel was in the kitchen, and there was a quiet buzz of conversation in the air. But the moment Rachel saw me, I felt it, her eyes narrowing just slightly, the faintest curl of a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Feeling better?" she asked, her voice sickeningly sweet. I tried to ignore the tone, the subtle jab she'd always thrown my way, but it cut through me like a knife. "I mean, at least you got pregnant once. That's something, right?" I didn't respond immediately, unsure of what to say. It wasn't just the words, it was the way she said them. As if she was offering some twisted comfort, as if I should be grateful for the chance I had to be pregnant at all. But the thing was, she didn't care. She didn't care about my grief, my loss, or how hard I was struggling to hold myself together. "Yeah, I guess so," I muttered, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes, but it wasn't enough to hide the fact that I felt like she was dissecting me with every word. Rachel didn't seem to notice or care. She continued, her tone never changing. "My friends had, like 3 miscarriages before she got pregnant with her baby. But she was younger than you, right? You're 32, right?" My stomach dropped. I wanted to scream, to tell her to shut up, to tell her that she had no right to say those things to me. But I just stood there, frozen. How could she be so callous? How could she be so determined to tear me down when all I wanted was to mourn in peace? I glanced at Kevin, hoping for some sign that he saw through her, that he would step in and put an end to this. But he was busy talking to his dad outside, completely oblivious to the way Rachel was deliberately trying to hurt me. She didn't care if Kevin was around or not. She knew how to manipulate him. She always had. I felt like I was suffocating. I could feel the walls closing in around me as Rachel continued her assault. "I just think you're, not that young anymore. It's kind of hard to keep trying when you're this old, right?" she said, her voice dripping with feigned concern. I couldn't take it anymore. My hands were shaking, and my chest felt tight. This wasn't just a joke. It was a calculated attempt to make me feel worthless, to make me doubt my body, my worth, my ability to carry a child. But Rachel wasn't done yet. "Oh, and don't worry," she said with that sickening smile. "You made it further than last time." Maybe your body just needs time to, get used to the idea. The words felt like acid in my throat. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, and I could feel the panic rising in me, but I stayed silent. Rachel walked away like nothing had happened, her smug expression not bothering to hide her satisfaction at the damage she'd caused. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was falling apart. And the worst part, Kevin still hadn't heard any of it. He still didn't know what Rachel had been saying to me. He didn't see it. He couldn't. When Kevin finally returned, I pretended nothing was wrong. I smiled, asked how his conversation with his dad had gone, and tried to act normal. But the truth was, I was anything but normal. I was breaking, piece by piece, and Rachel's words had cracked something deep inside me. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the silence pressing in around me. Kevin's breathing beside me was steady, peaceful, but I couldn't find peace. Not anymore. Rachel had done this. Rachel had pushed me to the edge, and Kevin still didn't see it. I wasn't sure how much longer I could pretend everything was okay. I closed my eyes, willing myself to sleep, but every time I tried, all I could see was Rachel's face, her smug smile, and the cruel words she had said to me. I wanted to scream, to cry, to let out all the pain she had caused. But instead, I just laid there in the dark, alone with my thoughts, wondering if anyone would ever really understand the depth of my hurt. Thanksgiving came too soon. The weight of everything, the miscarriage, Rachel's cruelty, Kevin's silence pressed down harder than ever. I should have been looking forward to it. It was supposed to be a time for family, for warmth, for gratitude. But every part of me felt like it was about to crack. I wasn't sure how much longer I could pretend to be okay, to smile through the pain. I tried to push the anxiety aside as we walked into Kevin's parents' house. But the moment we crossed the threshold, I felt it, an all too familiar tightening in my chest. Rachel was already there, standing in the kitchen, laughing with Kevin's mom. When she saw me, her smile flickered just for a second, barely noticeable, but I saw it. It was always there, that little flash of disdain. I tried to focus on the food, the conversations happening around me, anything to distract myself from the growing sense of dread. But it didn't take long for Rachel to make her move. She waited until the moment was right, until Kevin had stepped away to talk to his dad about something, until I was alone. Then, with a smug smile, she made her announcement. "Well, she said, her voice laced with that sweetness that made my skin crawl, "I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I should have been happy for her. I should have been supportive. But all I could feel was a raw, burning sense of betrayal. Rachel wasn't just telling me about her pregnancy, she was flaunting it, rubbing it in my face like it was a prize she had won. I forced a smile, my heart racing. "That's great," I said, my voice shaking slightly. Rachel's eyes sparkled with something darker, something triumphant. "Hopefully, this baby will be the first grandchild that actually makes it," she added, her gaze locking onto mine. I felt the room spin, the words cutting deeper than I thought possible. I was suddenly aware of the tightness in my chest, the dizziness creeping in, but I couldn't speak. My throat was tight, my mind a whirlwind. How could she say that? In front of everyone. Didn't she know the pain she was causing? Kevin walked back into the room, just in time to hear Rachel's misstatement, as she called it. She laughed it off, but the damage was done. I could see it in Kevin's eyes, the confusion, the concern, but he didn't ask. He didn't question, he didn't step in. I couldn't take it anymore. The tears were already welling up in my eyes, threatening to spill over, but I held them back. I couldn't break down here, not in front of them. I excused myself and retreated to the bathroom, trying to breathe through the pain, trying to make the tears stop before anyone noticed. But it was no use. I couldn't hold it back. I let the sobs come, silently, the weight of everything crashing over me. Rachel had done it again, she had humiliated me, twisted the knife deeper into the wound she'd already carved out. And Kevin hadn't done a thing. I don't know how long I stayed there, but eventually, I pulled myself together enough to go back out. The moment I stepped into the living room, I saw Rachel. She was talking to Kevin's dad, laughing like she hadn't just ripped my heart out. Kevin's mom caught my eye from across the room. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I didn't blame her. She knew what was going on. She had to know. But no one said anything. No one called Rachel out. I stayed quiet. I did what I always did, pretended everything was fine. I joined in the conversation, made small talk, nodded along as if nothing had happened. But the truth was, everything had happened. Rachel had made sure of that. She had made it clear that I was the outsider, that I didn't belong in this family, that I would never measure up. And I could see it in Kevin's eyes. He didn't see it. He didn't see what I was going through. He didn't understand why I was pulling away, why I was so upset. He thought it was just hormones. He thought it was just me, overreacting. But it wasn't. It was Rachel. It was the way she treated me, the way she made me feel invisible. And it was the way Kevin was letting it happen. I could feel the tension between us growing, thick and suffocating. I wanted to scream to make him understand, but every time I tried, it felt like I was talking to a wall. Every time I looked at him, I saw a man who was still too wrapped up in his sister's manipulation to see the truth. And the truth was that Rachel had done this. She had pushed me to the edge, and Kevin didn't even know. He didn't see how much damage she had caused, how much her words had torn me apart. When we finally left the dinner, Kevin was tired, exhausted from the long day. I was too, but I was also empty, like a part of me had been ripped away. The drive home was silent, the tension so thick between us that I could almost touch it. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't bring myself to speak. I just stared out the window, letting the tears fall quietly down my face, wishing that he could see the pain that I was drowning in. When we got home, Kevin went to bed without saying much. I stayed up, sitting on the couch, trying to find the strength to keep going. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rachel's face smiling, victorious, knowing that she had won again, and I couldn't escape her. I couldn't escape what she had done to me. I could feel the cracks in our marriage widening with every passing day, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't fix them. The days after Thanksgiving felt like I was living in a haze. Every time I tried to speak to Kevin about Rachel, I felt more and more like I was talking to a stranger. He had become so distant, so absorbed in his sister's narrative, that I didn't know how to reach him anymore. It wasn't just that he didn't see what Rachel was doing, it was that he couldn't. Or wouldn't. I tried to explain how Rachel's words had been eating at me, how her cruelty was like a constant echo in my head. But when I spoke, he just shrugged it off. She didn't mean it like that, Jordan. You're just really sensitive right now. Sensitive? Was that what he thought? Sensitive? After everything she had said, after everything she had done to tear me down, I was supposed to just let it go, just pretend like it didn't hurt, like it didn't matter. Kevin wasn't the man I married anymore. He had become someone else. Someone who believed Rachel over me. Someone who didn't see what was happening right in front of him. The breaking point came one evening, when Rachel showed up at our house unexpectedly. It had been weeks since we'd had any real contact with her, and I wasn't prepared for her visit. I was sitting on the couch, trying to distract myself with some mindless TV show, when the doorbell rang. Kevin answered it, and I heard Rachel's voice through the crack in the door. I tensed, my stomach twisting. "Hey, can I come in?" she asked, her tone almost too sweet, too innocent. I didn't want to see her, I didn't want to deal with her, not after everything. But before I could protest, Kevin was opening the door wider, letting her in. Rachel stepped inside with that damn fake smile plastered across her face. "Hi Jordan," she said, her voice sugary sweet but cold beneath the surface. "How are you? Kevin said you've been feeling down." I didn't trust her. I didn't trust a single word that came out of her mouth anymore. And I wasn't about to pretend everything was fine. "I'm fine," I said, forcing the words out with a tight smile. Kevin, of course, didn't notice the tension between us. He was already busy taking Rachel's coat and offering her a drink. I could feel the anger building inside me, tightening my chest like a vice. Rachel sat down across from me, casually flipping her hair over her shoulder. "So," she began, her voice filled with false sweetness, "how's everything going? You know, after everything." The words hung in the air like a heavy weight. She wasn't even trying to hide the cruel undertone. After everything. That was how she saw it, like my miscarriage was just some unfortunate event I needed to get over. But it wasn't just everything, it was Rachel, it was her constant, deliberate attempt to make me feel small. To make me feel like I wasn't enough. "I'm doing okay," I said, keeping my voice steady, just trying to move forward. Rachel raised an eyebrow. "That's good," she said, her tone dripping with something I couldn't quite put my finger on. "I mean, it's not like it's your fault, right? Sometimes things just don't work out, and your body knows when something's wrong." It was like a slap across the face. My body. My body knew when something was wrong. As she was still doing it, still making these jabs, like my miscarriage was somehow my fault, like I had failed. I could feel my face flush with heat, my blood boiling. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to tell her how much pain she was causing, how much damage her words were doing, but I didn't. I couldn't. Not in front of Kevin. Not when he still couldn't see the truth. Kevin walked back into the room, just in time to hear Rachel's joke. He didn't see the look on my face, the way my hands were trembling from trying to hold it together. Rachel looked at me, then at Kevin. "I just thought you'd want to know," she said casually. "I'm pregnant again. You know, just in case you were wondering. After all, I did have a healthy pregnancy with David. Some of us get lucky." It was like she was daring me to respond, daring me to feel something, and I did. I felt everything. The anger, the hurt, the rage I had been holding inside of me for so long. But instead of confronting her, instead of telling her how much she had hurt me, I just sat there, silent. My heart pounding in my chest. Kevin, of course, didn't understand. He looked at me, confused. "What's wrong, Jordan?" he asked, his tone laced with concern. "Rachel's just telling you some good news. Why are you so upset?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I wanted to tell him everything, to scream that this wasn't just about Rachel's pregnancy. It was about everything, about the way she'd treated me, the way she'd made me feel like I didn't belong, like I was less than everyone else, but I couldn't make him see it. He wasn't ready to understand, so instead I got up. "I'm not feeling well," I said, my voice thin, brittle. "I think I'm going to go to bed." Kevin didn't argue, he didn't ask me what was wrong, he just nodded and said, "Okay." And that was it. I left the room and went to our bedroom, locking the door behind me. I collapsed on the bed, burying my face in the pillow as the tears came. I had never felt so alone, so lost. I had lost the baby, I had lost my sense of self, and now I was losing Kevin too. He didn't see me, he didn't understand what Rachel had done, what she was doing. And I didn't know how much longer I could keep pretending it was all okay. The silence in the house was suffocating. Kevin had fallen asleep beside me, but I lay wide awake, staring at the ceiling. The anger was still burning inside me, but I was too tired to fight it anymore. I was worn out from the constant battle, from trying to keep up the illusion that everything was fine, when it was falling apart right in front of me. I had spent months pretending that I was okay, that Rachel's words didn't hurt, that Kevin's lack of understanding didn't matter, but it did. I was drowning, and no one seemed to notice. The next day, everything felt like a repeat of the day before, a cycle that wouldn't break. Kevin was still oblivious to the toll Rachel's words were taking on me, and I couldn't find the strength to explain it again. I didn't even know how to begin anymore. Every time I opened my mouth, I felt like I was talking to a wall. His eyes would glaze over, his responses vague, as though he didn't want to engage with what I was saying. But I needed him to see. I needed him to understand that this wasn't just me being sensitive or hormonal. This was something real. I tried to act like things were fine. I cooked dinner. I smiled when Kevin came home from work, but inside, I was a wreck. And I could feel it starting to leak out of me, into my voice, my body, my thoughts. The tension in my chest was a constant reminder that something had snapped, and I wasn't sure how to fix it. Then, the call came. It was Kevin's mom, and I could tell right away that something was wrong. Her voice was tight, strained, like she was holding something back. "Jordan, sweetie, you need to come over. It's about Rachel," she said, her voice shaking. I froze. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. What had happened? Was Rachel in trouble? Had something happened to her baby? I tried to keep my voice calm, my breath steady as I asked. "What's going on?" She's not well. Jordan, she's at the hospital. I don't know how to explain it, but she's asking for you." I didn't know how to process that. Rachel had been nothing but cruel to me, and now she was in the hospital. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for her, to feel some kind of sympathy for whatever was happening, but another part of me couldn't forget what she had done, what she had tried to do to me. She had tried to ruin my life. She had tried to destroy my family, but I couldn't ignore Kevin's mom's voice, the worry and panic in it. I could hear the concern for Rachel, and I couldn't just stay home, pretending everything was fine. "I'll come," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'll be there." I told Kevin I was going to see his mom, and he barely responded. He was busy with something on his laptop, his attention already elsewhere. I didn't have the energy to try to make him understand. I couldn't do it anymore. When I arrived at the hospital, the air felt thick, suffocating. I walked through the sterile hallways, the smell of disinfectant in the air, and found Kevin's mom waiting near the entrance. She looked worn out, her face pale and exhausted. "She's in there," Kevin's mom said, her voice tight. "The doctors don't know what happened, Jordan. They think it's a breakdown, but she's saying things about you." I didn't need to ask what things. I could feel the tension in the pit of my stomach. the weight of what had happened. Rachel had finally cracked, and somehow, it was my fault. But I was tired of being blamed for everything. I was tired of being the one who always had to carry the burden. I walked into her room, my heart pounding, and there she was, Rachel, lying in the hospital bed, pale and frail. She looked nothing like the woman who had tormented me for months. Her eyes were hollow, her face drawn, and when she saw me, she froze. Her lips trembled, and I could see the panic behind her eyes. "Jordan," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to hurt you." I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to say. Was this her apology? Was this what I had been waiting for? But something about her didn't feel real. She was acting like the victim, like everything was my fault. But I knew better. "Rachel," I said, my voice cold, controlled. "What happened? What are you doing here?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know," she said, her voice cracking. "I don't know why I did it. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to destroy you." I felt a flicker of something. Was it relief? Was it sympathy? But it faded quickly, replaced by something harder, something colder. Rachel had broken me, had hurt me more than anyone ever could. And now she was pretending to be the victim. Pretending to be sorry. I crossed my arms over my chest, my anger rising again. "It's too late for apologies, Rachel," I said, my voice tight. "You've already done the damage. You've already tried to tear my life apart." Her eyes filled with guilt, but there was no understanding in them. She didn't get it. She didn't get how deep the wounds went, how much she had destroyed. "I never meant for it to go this far," she whispered. "I just wanted him to choose me. I didn't want you to have what I couldn't. That was it. That was the truth." Rachel had never been about me. She had been about herself. She had wanted Kevин's attention, his approval, and when she didn't get it, she had lashed out, tearing me down to build herself up. "I think you need help, Rachel," I said, the words finally coming out, a sense of finality in my tone. "Real help, because this isn't about me. This is about you. And you need to fix yourself before you do any more damage." I turned and left the room without waiting for her response. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know what Kevin's family would do, what Rachel would do. But I knew one thing for sure: I was done. Done with pretending everything was okay. Done with trying to fix things that weren't my fault. And I wasn't going to let Rachel's sickness poison me any longer. I didn't want to face him. I didn't want to look at Kevin, to see the doubts still lingering in his eyes, the way he seemed so lost in his own confusion. But when I got home from the hospital, there he was, sitting at the kitchen table, his head in his hands. He looked up when I walked in, and there was something in his face, a mix of guilt, worry, and fear that made my stomach twist. "Jordan," his voice cracked, and for a split second, I almost believed he might understand. But then I saw the hesitation in his eyes. He wasn't ready to face the truth, not fully yet. "Don't," I said before he could say another word. My voice was steady, cold. "Don't apologize. Not yet." I walked past him, the weight of everything pressing down on me. I wasn't ready to hear him apologize. Not when everything felt like it was falling apart. I had told myself I'd been patient. I had told myself that I'd give him the time to understand, to see what Rachel had done. But it wasn't enough. Nothing was enough anymore. "You don't get it, do you?" I said, my voice rising despite myself. "You never have. This isn't about me overreacting, it's about her. It's about everything she's done, and you've let her do it to me." Kevin stood up, pushing the chair back so violently it scraped against the floor. He looked at me with wide eyes, the panic evident on his face. "Jordan, please, just listen to me. I've been trying to understand." "No," I snapped, cutting him off, "you haven't. You've been trying to fix everything with a band-aid. You haven't even seen the damage she's done, and I can't keep pretending that we're okay, that we can just move past this." I swallowed hard, the tears threatening to spill. But I refused to let them out. "Not yet. You think you can fix things with her, but I can't fix what she's done to me. You don't see it. You don't see the pain she's caused. You don't hear the way she talks to me, the things she's said about my body, about my miscarriage, about me as a mother. And you've let it happen." Kevin's face was turning red with frustration. "You think I don't see it? You think I don't know what she's been doing?" He took a step toward me, but I couldn't bring myself to look at him. Not now. Not with everything hanging in the balance. "Then why don't you do something about it?" I asked, my voice trembling with rage. "Why do you keep letting her get away with it? Why do you keep defending her? How many times do I have to say it? She's a toxic, Kevin. She's toxic, and you're letting her tear us apart." There was a silence between us. thick with the weight of everything unsaid. Kevin ran his hands through his hair, his face a mixture of anger and confusion. I don't know what you want from me, Jordan. I've tried to protect you. I've tried to see what's going on, but she's my sister, and I don't know how to. I couldn't listen anymore. You're choosing her over me, Kevin, I said, my voice low, almost a whisper. You're choosing her over your wife. The words stung more than I expected, but they were true. He wasn't seeing it. He wasn't seeing me. He took a step back, his expression shifting, and for a brief moment, I thought he might finally understand. But then he shook his head, like he was clearing away the fog, trying to make sense of everything I had just said. I don't want to choose, Jordan, he said quietly, his voice breaking. I'm not trying to choose. But I don't know how to fix this. I felt a hollow ache deep in my chest. It's too late to fix this, Kevin, I whispered. It's too late. You don't see how deep this goes. How far she's gone. How much she's destroyed. And I can't keep pretending that everything's fine, that we're fine, when I'm the one who's falling apart. I'm drowning in this, and you don't even know it. Kevin's face fell. The hurt in his eyes was almost too much to bear. He reached for me, but I stepped back, away from his touch. Not yet. I wasn't ready. You're not the only one who's hurting, Jordan, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I'm hurting too. I don't know what to do. I couldn't look at him anymore. I couldn't listen to the apologies, to the guilt. It was too much. I need space. Kevin, I said quietly, my heart pounding in my chest. I need time to think. Without another word, I turned and walked out of the room. I didn't know where I was going, just that I needed to be away from him, away from all of it. I needed air, I needed distance, I needed to breathe. I stepped outside, the cold air hitting me like a slap. I wrapped my arms around myself, but it didn't do anything to stop the shaking. I couldn't stop the tears anymore. They poured down my face, hot and relentless. As if my body was finally releasing everything I had been holding in. The pain, the frustration, the betrayal, it all poured out in that moment. I leaned against the cold metal of the railing on the porch, trying to steady my breathing, trying to find some sense of peace. But it wasn't coming. Nothing was coming. Rachel had almost destroyed me, Kevin had almost lost me, and I didn't know how to fix any of it. For the first time in months, I felt truly, utterly alone. The next few days blurred together in a haze of uncertainty. Kevin and I barely spoke, our conversations clipped and strained. The space between us had grown so wide. I didn't know how to bridge it anymore. I didn't know if I even wanted to. I kept to myself mostly, retreating into my own thoughts, trying to find some clarity. But the more I thought about everything, the less I understood. Rachel's words, her actions, they kept echoing in my mind, gnawing at me like an open wound that wouldn't heal. And Kevin, I couldn't understand him anymore. The man I had married, the man I had trusted, seemed so far away, like he had been replaced by someone else. Someone who couldn't see the damage, couldn't understand the depth of what had happened. I thought about our marriage, the love we had shared, the life we had built. Was it really gone? Could we really come back from this? Was there even a way to repair what Rachel had broken? I didn't know, I didn't have the answers. But then one evening, I got a call from Kevin's mom. Her voice was frantic, rushed, like she had something urgent to say. Jordan, she said, almost breathless, you need to come over, it's about Rachel. I froze. Every part of me tensed. My first thought was that something had happened to her baby, that the chaos she had created had finally caught up with her. But my second thought was sharper, colder. What now? What new torment was she about to bring into my life? I didn't know what to expect when I arrived at Kevin's mom's house, but I knew something had shifted. The air felt heavier, thick with an unspoken tension. Kevin was there, but he wasn't looking at me. His eyes were focused somewhere beyond me, like he couldn't bear to meet my gaze. What's going on? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Kevin's mom sighed, her face a mixture of exhaustion and sorrow. It's Rachel, she said, her voice tight with emotion. She's been taken to the hospital. She's not well, Jordan. I could feel my heart rate spike, my pulse pounding in my throat. What do you mean, not well? Kevin finally looked at me then. His face was pale, drawn, like he had aged years in the span of a few days. She's been having some kind of breakdown, Jordan. The doctors say she's unstable. They don't know what's happening to her. He paused, and his voice cracked. They think it's something serious. I shook my head, my stomach twisting. What do you want me to do, Kevin? After everything she's done to me, you still expect me to show up for her? Kevin didn't answer at first. He just stood there, his eyes full of guilt and regret. I couldn't look at him. Not yet. Not when everything between us felt so broken. His mom stepped forward, her face full of sadness. She's asking for you, Jordan. She's asking for you. And we don't know what else to do. She won't talk to anyone else. Please, we need you. The words hung in the air like a weight, heavy and suffocating. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to walk away, to say that I was done, that I wasn't going to be the one to clean up the mess Rachel had made. But another part of me, some part that still cared, felt the pull to go, to be there, to help, even if it meant facing the very woman who had tried to destroy me. I looked at Kevin, his eyes pleading, his hands shaking, and I knew then this wasn't just about Rachel. This was about me, about finding some way to put the pieces back together, even if it meant facing everything that had broken me. I nodded, slowly. I'll go, but this doesn't change anything. Rachel has done enough. This is about her, not me. Kevin's face softened, relief flooding his expression. Thank you, he whispered, and for a moment, I almost believed it. Almost believed that we could somehow come back from this. I didn't know what to expect when I walked into that hospital room. I didn't know what Rachel's breakdown would look like. But when I saw her lying there, her face pale and gaunt, it was like looking at a ghost. She looked so small, so vulnerable, and for a moment, I almost felt sympathy. Almost. But then I remembered. I remembered the lies, the manipulation, the way she had twisted everything to her advantage. And I knew that the woman lying in that bed was not the same one who had tormented me for months. This woman, this broken version of Rachel, was the product of her own choices, her own cruelty. I walked into the room, my steps slow, deliberate. Rachel didn't even look up when I entered. Her eyes were closed, her breathing shallow, and for a moment, I almost wondered if she even recognized that I was there. Rachel, I said, my voice quiet but firm. What happened? Why are you here? She stirred slightly, her eyes flickering open. They were empty, hollow, and she looked at me like she didn't know who I was. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to. I waited for the words that I thought would never come. The apology I had been waiting for, the acknowledgement of everything she had done. But it never came. Instead, she just looked at me, tears sliding down her cheeks, and whispered, I don't know who I am anymore. I felt a flicker of something. Was it pity? Was it regret? But I quickly shut it down, because Rachel didn't deserve my sympathy, not anymore. Rachel, you need help, I said, my voice steady, even if my heart wasn't. Real help. And you need to take responsibility for what you've done. She didn't respond, her eyes searching mine like she was trying to find some semblance of the person she used to be. But I couldn't help her find that person. She had lost that when she made the decision to destroy me. I don't know what's happened to me, she whispered again. But I know I hurt you. I know I've hurt everyone. And I don't know how to fix it. I stared at her, the anger and betrayal still boiling in my chest. But I knew what I had to do. Get the help you need, Rachel, I said, my voice cold. And if you ever want a chance to make things right, it's going to take more than just words. You need to face the damage you've caused. I turned and walked out of the room, feeling the weight of the years I had spent trying to be something I wasn't. Trying to be the woman who could heal everything, who could fix everything, but I couldn't fix Rachel, and I couldn't fix Kevin's broken faith in me. All I could do now was move forward. And hope that, somehow, we would find a way to heal.